In this tutorial, I'm going to show you a quick and easy way that you can create a photo template using Photoshop. Now, these photo templates can be saved and you can swap the photos in and out, add text, create Facebook cover pages with them, swap the images in and out, so you might want to change the images over and update them as you go along. As I said, add text. And also you might want to use them for Instagram posts where you might want to create 4 up on an image and you want to make sure that everything is evenly placed in the frame. And also you can use them, create borders, like even borders all the way around, simply and easily. Or you might want to create your own photo template, so a photo card that you can hand out, or photo collages as well, and special photo collages for your clients. And you can easily change the shape of the images. There are so many different things that you can do, and as I say, these are templates that you can save and then use them in the future so that you can quickly and easily create these beautiful photo montages. So let's have a look at how this is done. When you want to create a new photo template, what you want to do first is start with a base image. So in order to do that, I'm working in the 2020 version of Photoshop CC. So what you want to do first up is create a new document. So to do that, you go to File, New, and you're going to get a new dialog box that comes up, and you've got like a variety of choices here. So you can either set up your own template, and you've got options so you can change the width and the height and the resolution. So you can also change how you work. So you might want to work in inches, and I find that that's easiest when I'm doing prints, because I know that most prints are still measured in inches. So you've got 5x7, 8x10, 10x12, and it's just the easiest way to work. So that's what I do. So I'll measure, say if I wanted to have 5x7 with a width of 7 and a height of 5, I can enter that in, put that in, and then because it's going to be a print, I'm going to have a resolution of 300, and you can have color mode. So if you're going to do high-end printing, you can have RGB color, or you can also change the mode, and then you can determine what kind of color you want for the background, and I want my color to be white. And then you can name the template to start with. So I'll call this 5x7 and then underscore, and I'll call it my print template. All right, so once I've done that, I can go ahead and create, and Photoshop does that for me. So now I've got the base that I want to put my images in. So let's just say that I want to just place the images. So generally, someone who's just starting out to place an image will probably do something like the following. All right, so imagine you've got your template set up and you want to lay up something like 4 images on the page. So you select your images, and you might have them here, and you've got the move tool, which is this one here, and then you'll drag them onto your template, and then sort of move them around, and then you might transform. And you can see that I've got the handles here, and if I click on any of the handles, I can resize my image and move it around. All right, so, but this, like you can see, if you've ever tried this, it's not exactly that precise. So let's just say that I want to have one of my images here, and then I want to sort of have a nice little border. So I'm kind of eyeballing it, right? So I'll put that one there and hit OK. And then I might find my next image, which is here, and do the same, put it on top of the image with my move tool, drag it across. All right, so there's my image there. And again, I want to transform that image. So I've got to go, and it's like so much bigger than my image, and I find my handles, and then, oh, I've lost my image, and I put it there, and I want to put it there. But now, like, it just becomes a hot mess. And I know if you've ever tried this, and then I'm kind of eyeballing where I want my image to go and trying to size it up, and it's like a matter of doing that. Now, there's a better way. What you've got in the Photoshop tools is, if you go to View, you come in and you've got, first of all, you want to bring in your rulers. And now I've got measurements that I can follow. So like, let's say that I want a 1/2 inch border. All right, I know that I can bring my edge here. And again, it's still not that easy, but this is helping me. And I've got my borders, and I can now measure everything that I want to move. And you can see here in the layers, when I select an image, I can move it and I can transform it. All right, and if I select this image, I can move it and I can transform it. But it's still like a guessing game, and you saw me placing the images. You've got big images that you're dealing with, you've got little images, and it still becomes really difficult. And what if I want to just like crop this image? How do I do that? It just becomes a hot mess. So what we've got is, when I've got my rulers here, and so View, Rulers, if you don't see it, and that will bring it up. So there are my rulers. And just so you know, that if you go into Preferences, so currently my rulers are in inches. Okay, so if you come down to Units and Rulers in your Preferences, you have a choice. You can have pixels as a measurement, inches, centimeters, millimeters, points, pixels. Now, because I'm dealing with print, I find it easier to deal with inches, because I know that my print is going to be 5 by 7 inches. But you know that you can come in to the Preferences and you can change that as a default setting. All right. Now, once you've got your rulers there, you've got something really useful that you can work with. And if you just come up with the Move tool and you hover into the rulers area and click and drag, you'll see that you can bring in a guide. All right, and so you get these blue guides. Now, if I want to move the guide, I just hover my mouse and it changes from the Move tool to the arrow up and down. See that? All right, and when it's there, I can move it to wherever I want. Okay, so I can get horizontal guides that way, so I can make a border, and then I can select my image, and then I've got my 2 images aligned there just using the guides. And if I want to have a vertical guide, I just go over to my vertical ruler and just hover my mouse, click and drag, and you'll get a new guide there. Now, what if you want to place the guide in a precise position? Well, you can do that too. So you go to View, New Guide, and you get a little dialog box here. So I've got vertical checked. So let's just say I want to place a guide that tells me the exact middle of my mat or my frame here. So I know that my image is 7 inches across. So doing the math, the middle point vertically would be 3.5 inches. So if I enter 3.5 and hit OK, now I have a guide smack dab there in the middle at 3.5 inches. So you've got a lot of control, and if I want to move that image off, I can just drag it off over there. So you just hover the mouse, and when you get the two arrows, you can either move and rearrange those images, and you can bring new guidelines in. So you can easily manually lay up your guidelines and lay up your image like that. Now, with the guides, you can also go into preferences and you can change the specs of the guide. So let's just say that you wanted to change the color of the guides. You can also change them to so my guides are now light blue. Let's say I wanted to change them to red or green for whatever reason. If you want to do that, the default is blue, but you've got the option to change them if you've got something against blue. So that's that option there. All right. Now, something before I go into, there is a much better way, a much easier way, because this technique, doing it this way, just drives you up the wall and you will spend ages doing it. There is a better way, but something that I want to point out is it's really important that this, the dropping and dragging your image into the mat like this is not the best way to handle files, because what happens is you're going to lose the resolution. So let's say that I playing around with my image and I decide that, okay, what I want is I want this image to be really tiny here, and I'm going to hit OK, and then I want this image to be little as well, and I'll put that there and I hit OK, and then I'm thinking, oh, I don't like it now. I want to go back and make this image larger. So if I now click on that and increase the size, have a look what happens to the resolution of the image, because when we resized it down to fit into that tiny little frame and then went ahead and made it bigger, you lose the resolution. So the workaround is, instead of dropping and dragging, there is a better way. So I'm going to get rid of these images and I'll show you the same here. Like when I go to make that bigger, it suddenly becomes pixelated. So what we want to do is change these images from a pixel-based image to vector, and when it becomes a vector, then you can change it from big to small, and it'll never lose the resolution. So we'll just delete those two images, and I'll show you the protocol that you should follow. And I'm just going to get rid of all my guides here so you can clear the guides. So whenever you want to put an image into a new document, the better way to do it is to come in here and go File, Place Embedded. And then what you want to do is find that image in your file. So scroll through and find it, and you're placing the image. Now, what does that do? What it does is it converts the image to a smart object, and what that means is that you can now resize it, make it smaller, make it bigger. You can also edit that image individually, and then you can go back, and it gives you the option when it's a smart object that you can go back and edit the image. If say I've added like a black and white layer to this image, I can then come back in the future and edit that image again, and without ruining my whole document. So it's File, Place Embedded when you're placing an image into the screen. And I'm just going to show you now. So what I'm going to do is make it super small. All right, put that in the corner, hit OK, and then I'm going to change my mind. I want it to be bigger. See how it doesn't lose the resolution? So that's as a default. Whenever you're placing an image, do it in the File, Place Embedded, and you'll never lose resolution of your image. All right, so let's have a look at the better way to lay up our image. All right, so to do that, we go to View, come down to New Guide Layout, and you're going to get a little dialog box here. All right, now this is where the magic happens. This is so good. So what you've got is you've got the option to tell Photoshop how many columns and how many rows you want. So the columns go vertically and the rows horizontally. So I've got 2 columns and 2 rows. All right. Now I can also tell Photoshop that I want to also, if you don't want to have any borders, you just leave the gutters empty. All right. So, and if I want a border, I can say, let's say 0.25. So I'm still dealing in inches. Then that's giving me 0.25 of a gap in between the 2 rows. And then I can also have 0.25, all right, in between, 0.25 in between the 2 columns, and I've added a gap of 0.25 in between the 2 rows. And then you can also have a margin. So let's say that you want a border around your entire image. So I can also have 0.25 just to keep it all nice and neat. And I can place that in the left. And let's just get that right, 0.25. And again, 0.25. And on the right side, 0.25. Okay, so now I've got a nice layout here where I've got a nice even border all the way around the edges, and then I've got a border in the middle, and it's all beautifully laid out. And if this is something that I want to save, so this is something that you're going to use all the time, you can rename that and save that as a preset. So let's say that I really like this and I might use 4 up with a border. I can save that preset. So all I need to do is give it a name, and you'll see that Photoshop automatically takes you to the guides, and you can see that I've already saved a couple. I've got 3x3, I've got my Instagram one on a border, and then I've got another Instagram one. So let's say I call this 5x7 and with a border. You can be more creative with your naming, but I just want to show you. And then there it is, and it's saved, and all my other ones are saved as well. And there's also some presets that Photoshop already have loaded in, but I find them useless, so make your own. So that's how you save that border, and then just hit OK. All right, so I've saved that, but now, how do I get my images on there and move them around and resize them, and the best way to do that? Okay, so what I can do is I can go now and do the File, Place Embedded, and find an image that I want to put there. So let's place this one here. Okay. And now you see that I've got that kind of the same image, same problem as I had before, but I've now got some guidelines that I can work to. So I've got my handles here, either side of the image, and I've got, when the move tool is selected, I can now come in and resize that image to fit in that area. But you can see that my little box here doesn't quite scale, and it's going into the border. So like now I have to come in and I might need to crop that image, and it's kind of starting to become a similar hot mess to what I had when I started. So there is a better way, and I want to show you now how you can create a template and how you can build your images and place them without them overlapping each other and getting in each other's way. So I'll say no to that. I'm going to get rid of that. So once I've got my areas selected, what I'm going to do is come down here to the shape tool, and so you've got an option of lots of different shapes. So I'm going to choose the rectangle tool, and what I'm going to do is have shape selected, okay, and what I want to do is have the black square selected. Okay, so by default you might see the white square with a red line through it. I want the black square, because what I'm going to do is, what I'm telling Photoshop is, I want, when I select create a rectangle, I want Photoshop to fill it with black, and you'll see why shortly. And then the next one, a long stroke, you want to make sure that that's got the red line through it. And that's all you need at this point. So what I'm going to do is, with the rectangle tool selected, I am going to draw a black rectangle into that place there. Okay, so that's my place setting for where my first image is going to do. Now I'm going to repeat this for all 4 of my rectangles, and you'll see what's happening in the layers is it's creating its own layer for each shape that I'm creating. All right, and I'm going to have another one here. All right, and you'll find that when you've got the guides there, it actually snaps to the guide, so it even helps you lay up your image. So there. Okay, so now I've got my 4 shapes selected. All right, and what I'm going to do is my first one, which is this one here, I've got that one selected. With my first shape selected, I'm now going to pick the first image that's going to be placed into this box here. So I come in, File, Place Embedded, and I'm going to scroll through and select my first image. So let me just, for the sake of this little exercise, choose this one. Okay, hit OK. All right. So there it is. Now, because it's above the black square, it's there in the background, but I only want this image to be placed in this square. So how do I do that? So what you do is you hover your mouse between the first layer, rectangle 1, and your image, while holding down the Option on a Mac, Alt on a Windows. And if you hover between the two, it changes from a hand to the square with the arrow pointing down. So what I'm telling Photoshop is, this image here, I only want it to affect this square beneath it. So when I click on that, okay, now I can hit my move tool and look at that. Now I've got the image, and no matter where I move it, it's only being seen in that black square. I told you it was great. Now I can grab my handles, I can resize it. Because it's a smart object, I can make it as big, as small as I like. It's not going to change in terms of pixels. And now all I need to do is resize it to fit into that square, and you're not going to get any overhang, and it's a beautiful thing. All right, and I can hit OK, and now I can do the same with my next rectangle. So this one just under it. So again, I go to File, Place, and I'll select my next image. So let's choose this one here, File, Place. All right, there it is. Now you can see at the moment it's just free floating, and it's affecting the entire image. It's going over the border. I just want it in this square. So what do? Again, holding with that layer selected, I'm holding down the Option on a Mac, Alt on a Windows. See, it's the hand icon. And if I hover just over the line, the line between the two layers, it changes from the hand to the little box pointing down. I'm saying, hey Photoshop, I just want this layer to go into this box here. Click OK, and there it is. So now I can move it around and change it and resize it and position it. And if I want to make it smaller, I just click on one of the handles and resize like that and place my image there. All right, and then hit OK, and then I can repeat the exercise again for another image. Let's find another horizontal image, so that one will do. And I'm placing it in this little box here. So again, what I need to do is hover my mouse between the two frame layers and hit Option, Alt on a Windows, click, and there it is there. And now I can grab the handle, resize it, and position it into place. All right, and one more. Let's do the top one. File, place embedded, and we'll do this one here. And there it is there. Again. And resize it. Just move that out of the way. All right. And move it around. Okay, so, and there you've got the image laid up. And now I can save this whole thing as a PSD and store it away. And if it's something that you're going to use time and again, you can then have the option that whenever you want to swap an image out, let's say that you want to update it and you like the photo card as it is, but you've taken a new photo that you're really proud of and you want to swap it out. So let's say I want to get rid of this one. I just click on that layer and hit File, Place Embedded, and find my new image that I'm happy with. Search for that, and let's say we place that one there, and now I've replaced that. So again, I've got to do the same thing. Hit the down arrow, and I can remove that or leave it there if I want, and I can then resize my new image to go in place of the existing one, and it fits in beautifully there. So that's pretty much how you lay it up. And so what you can do is you can easily change the configuration. So let's say that you wanted to make something for Instagram. Okay, so I, again, want to go to File, New, and I want to create a new document. Now, because it's for Instagram, I'm not going to measure in inches. I know that I need to measure in pixels. And so we know that Instagram works best when you've got a width of 1200, and I know it's going to be square, so I need to make the height 1200 pixels as well. And it's going to be a resolution of 300, and I want the, I can name that Instagram, and I'll call it 4 images. So that's 4 on a 4 images in one frame. So I hit OK, create. Okay, so there's my square file. So it's 1200 pixels long by 1200 pixels high, and then I can go into View, New Guide Layout, and what I can do is I want 2 columns by 2 rows, but I don't want any borders, so I just delete all the borders. And I don't want any margins, so I delete all of those. Okay, and then hit OK, and I've got now my lovely square frame equally divided into 4 areas, and then I can just come in, get my rectangle tool and add in my shapes. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and see 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I want the first one, and you can see it's highlighted there by blue. And File, Place Embedded, search through, find my first image, and place. And there it is. Make sure that I tell Photoshop that I need that clipped to the bottom layer. So then hovering in between, holding down the Option key on a Mac, Alt on a Windows. There it is, my Move tool, and you see the handles. If you don't see the handles there, you might want to change it to File, Edit, Transform, Free Transform. So Command T is the shortcut if you don't see these little handles on the edges. All right, and then I can resize it to fit into that little box there, okay, and maneuver it around. So there you go. So let me see where I've got one. Okay, so here's one I've already created, and I've done all of that. And so that's it. And then once you've done that, you can then on top of that add, like you might want to put your logo in the corner, or you might want to put some text. So you can add another little box onto the middle, like I've done with this Facebook cover. So what I've done for that is I've got all my images. So I've laid up all my boxes. Okay, and I've got my images there. And then the last thing I did is I added an extra white box, a little rectangle here in the corner, and then I put my text there. And so now I've got a little Facebook header image that you can update at any time. But you can see how easy they are to do and how easy the templates are. And you can make, as I said, social media collages. And you can also make your own business cards or gift certificates, and that is just an easier way to lay them out. And so one more thing that I want to show you is how if you want to create a unique collage with your images and change the shape of your photos, and this is something that you might want to do for couples or just something that looks a bit different to what everyone else is using. All right, so using this technique, you're not just limited to rectangles or squares. You can make your photos into any shape that you like. Now, in this, in the part of the shape tools, you have rectangle. You could do a rounded rectangle. You could have a ellipse. All right, so you could have a circle. So maybe you want to have your images in a circle, okay? Or you can change it to a custom shape. So you could have a love heart. And let's see what other shapes we've got here. Let's see. For the dog lovers, we've got the paw print. And let's do one more. We'll do this one here. Okay, so if I look at my layers here, I've got 4 different layers, and using the exact same technique, I can go to File, Place Embedded, find my shape. So let's have a look. So we'll use this one here. All right, so place that one, and again, I'm going to hold the Option on a Mac, Alt on a Windows, hover in between, clip that to the top, transform my image, and I can get it to fit into that circle frame there. Okay, how cool is that? Okay, so there's my image in a circle. if I want to put my image in a love heart, file, place, embedded, and we'll find a nice image for the love heart. Let's put this little guy here in the love heart. Okay, again, clip that to the layer, and there he is. So you can see that for a wedding image or something, and if you've got doggy images, you can always experiment, like, you know, and maybe get a shot that fits into the little paw prints. Again, same technique, you know, something like that. So you can muck around. There's all sorts of things you can do with creating different shapes. And like, here's one that I did of Australia. So it's basically just the clipping mask, which is, so you can get a shape and just fill it with black, and then that gives you the initial shape, and then you can place your image above it using the clipping mask. So it's just hovering the mouse in between till you get that little white box with the arrow pointing down, and so you can create all manner of different shapes, so your own custom shapes. It might even be your logo that actually has a photo. It could be text as well. So created a download of a template that you can use. So it's the 4UP template that you can use that for Instagram or Facebook. And you just follow the layers that I've place in image here. So just select the layer and then go through and find the image that you want to place there, and put that in, and just select an image here, place, and you can see that that appears in the square. And then it's just a matter, if you don't see the handles, then you go to edit, free transform, and then they'll appear, and you can resize your image. All right, and then place it, and then select your next one. Just select the next layer, file, place embedded, pick my next image, place, and then it will be in exactly the spot that I want it, and then I can free transform that image to whatever size I want to fit in that square. All right, so there you go. Enjoy the template, and please do share any photo collages that you make. I'd love to see them.